Because obviously we got two new layouts. We're assuming, right, the fifth and sixth race are going to be on the original Berlin. Well, we don't know, but I think we are assuming, boys, that it will be on the traditional Berlin layout that we know and love. I don't know if we love it, but there we go. But and then the final two layouts will be new, right? And there's a lot of talk right now whether or not the teams will get these layouts before they go to Berlin, or if that will even be possible, if these layouts have even been discussed or created yet, or if they'll just turn up on those race weekends and have to just deal with that circuit for the first time. Ed, what would you prefer? Would you prefer the teams to sort of get a look at it so we have a competitive race, or would you prefer that they just turn up on that day? Here's the track that you're racing at today. Good luck.
Hey, we may not know and love the tracks just yet, but why don't we just get to know them and give them a chance, eh? But so, from a fan's perspective, I think you probably prefer not for the teams not to know going in, because it means that they've got a bit less time to prepare. They've got to sort of do a lot of calculations on the fly in regards to energy management and stuff like that, and it makes their job harder. It makes it more likely that some of them will get it wrong, and that leads to more of a spectacle. But from the team's point of view, they're focused on getting the best performance and not making mistakes. So they will absolutely want. I know you've talked to some of the drivers; they maybe feel a bit differently, but the teams absolutely will want to know beforehand. There's also certain things like in terms of the logistical point of view, in terms of I think for spectators knowing what the layout looks like beforehand, so they can actually follow it a bit better. I think that's going to be important. So I can see more reasons for them to be public and open like about it a few weeks beforehand. But I do hope, secretly, part of me does hope that that the teams just go into the unknown and we see some crazy racing and some interesting results.
Yeah, Jack, what do you think? Obviously, if they do have the simulator, we're going to have some competitive races, and you could say it's fair because they would do that every race weekend, and therefore whoever is the champion is the deserved champion because they put the homework in. Whereas if you do go into the unknown, I still think the champion will still be deserved because they've adapted to the situation the quickest, and therefore has become the champion because they can adapt. They can just hit the ground running, give them any track, any place. Don't care if I know it or do know it. I'll perform at the best of my ability straight away.
Well, yeah, I think personally, from my opinion, I'd go don't show them at all. Either that, or reveal all three layouts on like August 1st or something. So it means that they can't really that they can't really do much testing on a simulated layout.
What I want to ask you, Ed, actually, is are Formula E being a bit ambitious, right? 9 days, free track layouts, right? So basically, they don't have a lot of time to turn one track into a new track, and then once they've done that, you've got to take it all apart again and do it again. Do you think it's a bit ambitious? Because some drivers, even though it was announced, were like, are they really going to do free track layouts? Like, how are they going to do that?
Well, maybe one of the track layouts would just be the current one, but in reverse. Because in terms of they're only allowed to have 1,000 people on site at one time, I think. So it'd be interesting to see how they actually go about if they like say they will do different configuration, needs lots more barriers in or different infrastructure, how they're going to accommodate for that.
Do you think they're going to Ed? Do you think they're going to build grandstands? Now, I say this because right, there is absolutely no need for Formula E to put grandstands up, right? Makes no sense. But when you have a track with said grandstands in it, which the Berlin track does, it gives it that atmospheric feeling, right? So if we just go to a track and it's just basically barriers, and then there's nothing outside the barriers, it's just another airfield. I don't know do you feel that would lose some of that atmosphere of watching the race, or even just having empty grandstands there would at least give it some sort of atmosphere that the fans should have been there and so forth. But without any grandstands, it just came into my head now, and I'm slightly worried about it because imagine watching the race and they do like a pan shot, and it's just an empty airfield with barriers, no grandstands, no nothing. It'll just look a bit odd.
Yeah, but it's part of the situation, I guess, in a way. Is it worse to have, and like you say, an empty grandstand or there's no grandstand at all? I can see them using the space for advertising. Certainly, if they do grandstands, I couldn't imagine them just having them there empty. I think they would put some kind of sponsor thing in there. Perhaps ABB would do something. But yeah, it's certainly in terms of optics, it's going to be interesting to see how they manage it, and we're going to see lots of drivers come in wearing face masks, of course, and how they kind of manage that, because I've seen stuff from other sports that have restarted, and they do have this problem of it looking a bit eerie in the back, and the commentators kind of referring to the fact that there's no fans watching constantly, and how it sort of draws attention to that, and how you'd sort of hope the Formula League would find a way to avoid that. They do usually, in the rare rounds that aren't that well attended anyway. They do a good job of, positioning the cameras so it's not obvious that there aren't that many fans. But
yeah, it's actually a really interesting point that Ed makes, in terms of, we've been seeing it a lot in the British football stadiums at the moment in football, where it's just full of advertising, full of sponsored messages, and that could be a really for the sponsors of the races, that could be a really cool way. And then you've still got that feeling that there are some stadiums there and there's actually something in the foreground to look at. I don't know if that's right. I think foreground is the correct term or phrase there, but it's just something for the fans to look at in the sort of horizon, in the broader picture, rather than just having some loads of empty spaces.
Yeah, and it's the exact point that I was going to bring up. The fact that there are lots of definitely the English English football teams. They've done this a lot, and I was watching one of the playoffs, because my local university team, which is Northampton Town, we're in the first part of the playoffs, so basically the method that they had there is pay 25 quid and you can get like a cardboard cutout of someone, and then they stick them in the stands. And on one of the stories there was that there was this young lad called Harry Dunn who was killed kind of unlawfully in a car crash last year, and he was a big Northampton Town fan, and so they sent him as a cardboard cutout and put him in there. There was also Shaq O'Neal in the grandstands as well. So yeah, and it was for like 25 quid as well. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea if they do that. Set up a couple grandstands and just put cardboard cutouts of people in there. I'd buy one. Put it something like 25 quid. Sorted.
Unless you don't do what Leeds did and put a picture of Bin Laden in one of the little...
Yeah, no, what?
Yeah, do that at Saudi Arabia. That would go down well.
What I'd do is I'd have like someone kind of there just like making sure that they're all okay.
I don't know how Leeds, big football show. I don't know how someone at Leeds managed to, Leeds United Football Club. There is a story, if you want to go look it up on the internet, it'll be around on Twitter for sure still, where they were doing these cardboard cutout things, and someone decided to, for as a joke, instead of putting a picture of themselves, they put a picture of Bin Laden up. So and Leeds, being Leeds Football Club, actually didn't check, and someone put it. But I think it's a great initiative though, Jack. Like, have empty grandstands, but people who are ticket holders, send an email out to them. Don't even make them pay £25. Yeah, those ticket holders that had it, get first dibs. Do you want to have a picture of yourself in the grandstand, and we'll make a cardboard cutout of you? You can be part of the races, and then for other races they could open it up. Again, there's plenty of stunts, Ed, that Formula E could have done with this.
Yeah, I guess so. And we still don't know enough details, so it really remains to be seen what they do with that. They could still implement what you're suggesting, but in my opinion, it's way more likely that they will just adapt the infrastructure they've already got and use it for advertising. And I think we've seen that in Formula One. Like, the Chinese Grand Prix used to do that with their grandstands. They were just empty. They would just put advertising from local Chinese sponsors on them. So it's not exactly unprecedented.
And Hockenheim as well with the Rolex at Turn 1, when it was much better when it was opened up to fans, but the season that they didn't open up to fans, it was just covered in Rolex. But again, it would be a nice touch, maybe not all the grandstands, but have one grandstand which is just filled with fans in cardboard cutouts, and hopefully Formula E take what football teams have been doing and seeing what they're doing and go, okay, we should take a slice of that pie and eat it as well.
Pie.
Yeah, exactly. You got to make it tasty. Otherwise the fans aren't going to do it.